In this episode, we're visiting the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We'll stop by Newfound Gap. We'll drive into the clouds to Clingmans Dome. We'll also drive through Gatlinburg and the Pigeon Forge. We'll camp at Cades Cove and explore that beautiful area for the first time. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV, yeah. Well, this was a nice quick overnight here at the KOA. As I said, a little too busy for my taste, but yeah, this is just what I needed. Quick overnight, full hookups, bad internet actually. But there was nothing else on a Saturday. Now today's Sunday, we're going to Cades Cove. Oh, did I mention it is a huge campground? Yep, it sure is. As I said, today we are visiting the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, the most visited national park in the whole United States. And one of the main reasons for that is a lot of people live close to it. Apparently, 2/3 of Americans live within a day's drive, and it is one of the few national parks that doesn't charge an entrance fee. And there's the wildlife, the scenery, the history. This is Newfound Gap, almost a mile high, yet the lowest drivable pass through the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. This is probably one of the best places to admire the beauty of the Smokies, which today are even smokier than usual. The name Smoky was inspired by the ever-present fog, which is caused by the vegetation actually, and this is the famed Appalachian Trail, a section of which we did a couple of days ago. Can you spot the trailer? Yes, there we are, Minitini II in the house. The sun's coming out, but still the tops of the mountains are immersed in the clouds. And this is pretty much the spot where we're going to say goodbye, for now, to North Carolina and hello to Tennessee. Yeah, that back there, that's the sign, the border between North Carolina and Tennessee. This right here is the Appalachian Trail we are traversing. And that's pretty much it. We've been here before, so I didn't want to spend too much time. Now let's see if we can go to Clingmans Dome. I see a lot of low clouds, so Clingmans Dome might be a bust, but I'm still gonna try. Let's take the road to Clingmans Dome, the highest point in the Great Smoky Mountains.
Continue on Clingmans Dome Road for 6 miles.
Up and up we go. Doesn't look very promising as far as the views are concerned. Here we are, and it is our lucky day. There's oversized parking left. Well, it is early, and I think we beat the crowds for the most part. And I can turn on a dime with the trailer. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy fog. Well, here we are, Clingmans Dome. Not the best atmospheric conditions for a hike to the top.
I mean, there's no visibility whatsoever right now, but one can only hope that it'll improve, right?
Yeah, definitely not the expansive views we were envisioning. And the parking lot is pretty full. I think had we arrived a few minutes later, we would have been in trouble. Once in a while, the clouds roll by and we get glimpses of what would otherwise be a commanding view. Well, we made it all the way here, so might as well do the trail all the way to the top. Even if there is zero visibility. It's only half a mile, but it is up and up and up. As it's been the recurring theme in this whole area, yes, it is a little crowded. To be expected, this is the most visited national park in the nation, and this is one of the main attractions. Yeah, once again we intersect the Appalachian Trail. There's the observation tower, although there doesn't seem to be a whole lot to observe today.
Well, yeah, this is the view from the top.
That's what it's supposed to look like, and that's what we're getting.
Looks like the sun wants to come out.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
Eastern view. I think they're overdue for a new illustration here, but yeah. Well, that was an epic fail, wasn't it? Now let's go down. This is the other trail that a lot of people recommended. Perhaps another day. Well, it is definitely clearing up, but I'm not going back up there. Much quieter as we approach the end of the parking lot here. Look at that, all of a sudden. The clouds are very interesting. Oh, I see Minitini II.
One minute, it seems like it is going to clear up. The next, we're once again engulfed in the clouds.
Let me tell you something, I'm glad I came when I did, perfect timing. Because right now, all this oversized parking area, let's call it all this RV-friendly area, it's all taken now. So had I arrived a few minutes later, I would have been out of luck. All right, let's take a break inside Minitini. And off we go towards Cades Cove.
And we're back on the 441. Newfound Gap even more crowded than before. This is one of the prettiest vista points right here, and let me tell you, sometimes I wish I had a Class B, but I like having my larger holding tanks too. This here is the Alum Cave Trailhead. Someday, but not today. You see that Alum Cave area? Where did I hear that this year the national parks were gonna be less crowded? I read that somewhere. I guess not. I guess the presumption was that since this year we don't really have any international tourism, and since they make up a good percentage of visitors, that perhaps. But I guess they didn't take into account nearly every single American would try to get out of the cities and enjoy the great outdoors this year. Did you notice the loop on the road where we just came full circle right under it? Pretty cool feat of engineering, I think. And here's another overflowing trailhead. It is a beautiful drive in any season, but I hear in the fall it is supposed to be spectacular. We'll be back. We'll be back. This time we didn't get lucky, but sometimes you do get to see bears and other wildlife on this road. As we pass by the Sugarlands Visitor Center here, we are approaching the town of Gatlinburg. And even though there is a bypass which would save us a few minutes, I want to drive through town and see how busy it is. Hello everybody and welcome to Gatlinburg. It is like stepping through the Stargate, huh? All of a sudden, we're in a whole different world here. And you haven't seen anything yet. There's a plethora of breweries, wineries, distilleries, moonshine, and all kinds of restaurants and shops and many tourist trap style attractions. They have an observation tower, ski lifts, an aerial tramway, amusement and adventure parks, museums, carnival-style attractions. I mean, there's definitely something for everyone in the family. It is totally a tourist trap, but it is a good one. And if you don't like any of this stuff, if the mountains are calling, there's just a short drive away, which is very convenient. Yes, it feels like an endless cornucopia of all different ways for you to spend money. Eventually we start to get back into nature, but not for long. Pigeon Forge is next. Here we are, Pigeon Forge. I'm sure you've heard of Dollywood. Well, it is here, along with many other smaller attractions along the main drag here. Not necessarily my kind of thing. In fact, I like the ambience of Gatlinburg a lot better, but it may be yours. I know many people are into these types of attractions, particularly the young ones, and I betcha there is something here for everyone. There are also several campgrounds here in town, including an OK KOA, where we stayed a couple of years ago. It is miles and miles of this. Well, the mountains are calling, and now we're going to a totally different area of the Great Smoky Mountains. It is called Cades Cove. Since we're outside the boundary of the national park, how about we do a quick up and down to see our surroundings? whitewater rafting and tubing going on here, and we're back within the boundaries of the national park, which means we're gonna lose cellular coverage here very soon. I better make one last phone call. It is beautiful here.
Yes, I am.
Hi, I watch you all the time.
Oh, thank you.
Wasn't that cool? Well, to recap, we left Cherokee and drove all the way to Newfound Gap and Clingmans Dome, then down to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge to eventually end up here, Cades Cove. We're going to spend 2 nights here at the campground, which is, by the way, primitive and feels very remote. No cell phone service of any kind, so we're definitely in nature. When you're really hungry, the quickest thing is usually burgers.
Bon appetit.
It was a dark and stormy night. No, for real, it was. Well, when life gives you lemons, right? I bet you've never seen the Cades Cove loop road, the drive under the rain. So that's what we're gonna do today. Actually, I think it's getting better. We got all these low-hanging clouds right there, so I think we'll be all right. At least I don't think it's going to be crowded at all because of the rain. Okay, they charge you $1 for this booklet here, and the most important thing is the tour map. And he said not to miss the John Oliver Place and the Primitive Baptist Church. Cades Cove here is actually a valley, and besides the natural beauty and the wildlife, it is all about the history, and we'll encounter some historic structures along this loop road. The whole area used to be a farming community before the national park was established in 1934, and pretty remote too. The cove was only accessible by 5 narrow, unpaved roads. Our first stop is going to be John Oliver Place, the oldest log cabin here, dating back to the 1820s.
Hiking in the rain. We are hiking in the rain. Actually, in a sense, I'm kind of glad it's raining. You know, it'll be a different approach to Cades Cove here for sure. It's kind of surreal, actually. I think that's it. Apparently, John and Lucretia Oliver arrived here in 1818, and the cabin is believed to be from the 1820s, but nobody knows for sure. This is in 1957, and now.
Let's step inside. One thing to note about the construction are the notched corners, which need no nails or pegs. Gravity just holds them together.
It's pretty amazing craftsmanship, actually.
The open spaces between the logs are filled with mud, and mud mortar is what is holding the stone chimney together as well. Let's get into all the nooks and crannies here. Apparently, the attic was where the sons would sleep, while the rest of the family used the ground floor.
We're gonna return on the other trail, the one that goes through the woods, you know, just to change it up a little bit. It's a rainy day for sure.
Look at this muddy trail. I'm so glad I brought my hiking shoes.
Look at this felled tree here. Walking in the woods, under the rain, there's almost like a mysterious quality to it. It's really unique. All right, that was very interesting. Let's continue. It's pretty busy for such a rainy day, let me tell you.
Wow, those mountains, they look amazing with those low-hanging clouds. Ooh, what's going on here? Apparently, there's wildlife.
Hi. Hey, what are we looking for?
Sleeping on that branch right there.
Oh, I see it. All right. Oh, wow.
What is everybody looking at?
It's a black bear. I wish there was more room to pull over and take a better picture, but it's still really cool to see it. Our next stop is the Primitive Baptist Church, established in 1827 by the earliest settlers. The current building was constructed in 1887.
There's a bunch of people in there, so let's see the graveyard first.
I expected it to be more solemn, but oh well. Let's continue. Our next stop, the Methodist Church.
Let's check out the Methodist Church.
This one was built in 1902 by carpenter and blacksmith J.D. McCampbell in 115 days for $115.
I read that the church has two doors because the original plans, women would sit on one side and men on the other. But in this case, that wasn't the case. They just borrowed some plans from another church and built it like that, even though, it was unisex, if you will. Let's see the view from the pastor's point of view here. There we go. Let's see the graveyard real quick and we'll continue. It's a cool looking tree back there.
Next up, the Missionary Church.
All right, let's check out the Missionaries Church here.
This one, formed in 1839 by a group of Baptists expelled from the primitive church. The current building dates back to 1915. This one also has a graveyard, and the rain just won't stop. Next, we're going to another homestead, that of John Oliver's son Elijah. And let me tell you something, I had heard great things about Cades Cove, but take a look at this place. It is one of those places that it doesn't matter how many people tell you about it or how many pictures you've seen. I think you have to experience it for yourself.
All right, let's do it. This is the Elijah Oliver place, and it stopped raining temporarily, but there's a glimpse of blue skies back there. Apparently it is half a mile and it started raining again, hopefully. It won't be too bad. I left the umbrella in the car. No, not as remote as we thought we were, huh? I guess this is it. This can't be it. This doesn't look like the picture. Let's take a look at this. What is this place?
This is actually, or was rather, a relatively newer barn when the national park bought the property in the 1930s, according to the pamphlet I got. Now, onto the actual property. It should be pretty close. Here we are, and there are several structures. That seems to be the main house, much larger than that of the father, but similar type of construction, I think.
Let's go clockwise here. Let's see what this structure is first.
Apparently some kind of storage.
And this is the thing. All the information is in the booklet, and I left the booklet in the car. But I'll fill you in with voiceover, I'm sure. Let's see what this is. What is it, like a stable or something? Probably. I don't know. All right. Oh, there's another door here. Okay, let's go inside.
Okay, this is what I read. At the time, just one building wasn't enough in a homestead. They needed a spring house to keep the milk and the butter cool, and a smoke house to store and preserve the hams, and a corn crib, a barn.
Let's see this one.
I betcha that's the outhouse. I believe it is also called a privy.
An aqueduct of sorts. Yep. This would have been the privy. I wonder. No, it is locked. All right, that was pretty cool. Elijah Place, I think that's how it's pronounced. Otherwise, I will correct myself at some point.
Elijah, actually.
Let's continue doing the Cades Cove loop road. Okay, there we go. That's the way.
Never get tired of looking at these mountains, and it looks like the weather might be improving. Let's continue exploring. We're still about halfway. Who wants to see waterfalls? There's supposed to be this beautiful waterfall here, and this is the trailhead.
Okay, let's see how long it is. Yeah, no, I didn't come prepared for this. It'll be 5 miles in total, and I don't have enough water or food. So we're gonna do this some other time, some other day. I think we've seen enough waterfalls in this series already, right?
Now we're gonna drive to the Cable Mill Historic Area. And this is where the visitor center is located.
Let's explore this area here. Apparently only the grist mill is in its original spot. Everything else is was moved here from somewhere else in the park. Snakes active around buildings. Oh no.
This first structure is the blacksmith shop. Blacksmiths were like the masters of the iron in the 18th and 19th centuries in rural America, and every farm community had one. Very cool to see all the ancient tools.
This is a wild hog trap. Oh wow, look at that.
Next, we have this large barn used to shelter livestock in the cold months. This one is called the Laquire Cantilever Barn. Here's a trail that goes to the creek. And the dam. Yeah, there's a dam. There's the dam.
That is pretty cool, and I guess they can open and close it as they see fit, right? Okay, this might be a little sketchy. Just because the rocks are kind of slippery. Actually, it was a lot easier than I thought it would be, because there's a gate down there that controls the amount of water that comes this way. All right, let's go see the grist mill. The water keeps flowing through here.
The mill was built by one John P. Cable, who bought this land in the late 1860s.
All right, let's continue. What is this right here?
Well, this seems to be the smokehouse. This is the corn crib to the left and the barn in the back. And there's the house where the Cables lived, the cane mill and the sorghum furnace. Let's get a closer look. This was actually used to make molasses from juice extracted from sorghum cane using this mill, and apparently it was a whole social event.
Alright, let's continue the journey.
We still have a couple of homesteads to see on the way back, but we'll make it quick.
The Cable Cemetery.
This is Dan Lawson's place. Here's the barn. Here's the main residence. Here's the view from the front porch. They all look kind of similar inside, with the second floor attic. And this property, it dates back to 1856. We continue. This one is called Tepton Place. Very similar, so we're not gonna stop actually. The house was built in the early 1870s. We're gonna make one last stop here at Carter Shield's cabin. And then we're going to Townsend to get in touch with the outside world. Shields bought this property in 1910. There's a creek behind. It is such an idyllic place, but he only lived here for 11 years. There seems to be a wildlife sighting, but whatever it was, it's not here anymore. Lastly, let's check out this small cemetery under that tree, and then off we go. It is so beautiful here, with all these flowers. I'm impressed. Very much impressed. Here's that old cemetery, by the way. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot left. And with that, we're gonna start saying goodbye to Cades Cove. Alright, let's go into Townsend real quick.
Well, yeah, I went into town to get some internet. And I stopped here. This is right by the entrance to the national park. These rapids and a bunch of people tubing. Seems to be a thing.
This here is beautiful Laurel Creek. Lots of whitewater tubing going on, which seems to be like a lot of fun, let me tell you. I might try that someday. There's a swimming area too. Wait for it. Wait for it. And he lost his tube.
I don't know, that's either real dangerous or real fun. Or both. Here we go. Well, it is now time for an RV cooking show, and today I'm gonna cook some pasta with meatballs, because that's what I feel like eating. I was gonna do something in the Instant Pot, and one of these days I'm gonna make some Cuban-style red kidney beans, but not today. Now, if I could only find my pasta. Here we go, we got a pound of linguine. I don't know if I'm gonna do the whole thing.
Alright, first I'm going to chop an onion. Then I'm going to smash, peel, and mince some garlic. Same with the green pepper. We're gonna boil some water for the pasta.
Here's my bacon. Let's do three strips of bacon, why not? And then after I eat, I mean, there's nothing else to do here. There's no internet, there's no TV. I downloaded a couple of videos of YouTube, but the internet was low, and all that got downloaded was a video by Camo Dave and one by Marquez Brownlee. So those are the two videos I'm going to listen to, and then maybe some podcast. I have my Kindle here, so I could read a book. Yeah.
Salt, pepper, smoked paprika.
I'm gonna do oregano. You know, I usually cook with the same stuff just because I like it. Just a dash of cumin. Today I want to do something different. I want to add a little bit of cayenne pepper to give it that extra kick.
A little bit of Turkish saffron. Have some turmeric.
Why not? I'm not gonna push it, just a tiny little bit.
for color and flavor. Should I do coriander? Might as well. You know, let's be adventurous today. All right, let's move it around and then we're gonna add the rest of the stuff. A little bit of vino secco cooking wine, and of course, it is going to be a pasta, so tomato sauce. I'm gonna add the frozen meatballs, and now we wait. And while we wait, we're gonna boil that pasta for 10 minutes or so. Cilantro and cheese while we wait. We drain, we mix, and voila!
Sensors up in front of this phone, but
it still good.
Has raised to wake with the accelerometer and gyroscope, and you can turn this on or off.
Well, good morning. Today we depart from this idyllic place.
This was very peaceful, and it seems like it is going to be a beautiful day. On the road again.
Here we go. Filling up water and dumping the gray.
Riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah, I'm riding, I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah.
Hello, Nashville, and goodbye. We'll be back, I promise. I don't remember if I told you, but today we're going to a new state as the summer 2020 adventure continues. Actually, besides St. Louis, we've never really done anything significant in Missouri. And this week we're gonna change that. So yes, today we're crossing the mighty Mississippi and we're going to stay at a casino on the Missouri side. But more about that on the next episode. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the road.